Today we're going to make something called cottage potatoes. They're like crisps, so you can call them crisps if you want to, but they're called cottage potatoes because they look like the tiles on a cottage roof when you lay them out. So you can overlap them like that and they look like the tiles on a cottage roof. So cottage potatoes. Let's get cooking. For today's recipe you will need 1 potato, doesn't matter which type, any potato which you have in the cupboard will be fine. You need a very small amount of olive oil, around about 1 tablespoon of olive oil. You'll need a small pinch of salt and a small pinch of pepper. If you want, you can leave out the salt and the pepper, so you don't have to add those. The salt and the pepper are there to add flavour. If you don't have salt and pepper, that's fine, it really doesn't matter. Or if you do have other spices in your cupboard, such as paprika, cayenne pepper or chilli powder, you can add those, but be careful adding the chilli powder and the cayenne pepper as it can be quite spicy. The equipment you'll need today is a bowl, an oven tray lined with foil and with some parchment paper on. Now you don't have to have parchment paper. If you don't have any parchment paper, what you can use is just some oil and rub that over the foil. Now the reason we use the foil is because it makes it a lot easier to clean up afterwards. As always, the first thing we need to do is wash our hands for at least 20 seconds. Make sure you get the backs of your hands, in between your fingers, and also around and under your nails. This is really important before you start doing any cooking. The first thing you need to do is ask your grown-up to put the oven on to 200 degrees. That way it will heat up ready for you to cook. Next, we will need to get our potato and wash it under the tap to make sure it's nice and clean. Once it's cleaned, we can dry it with a piece of kitchen roll or kitchen paper to make sure it's nice and dry, and then ask your grown-up to cut it into slices. Now your grown-up will need to cut it into slices which are around about 2 to 3 millimeters thick. It doesn't matter if some are slightly thicker than others. It doesn't matter if you can't cut a perfectly straight line. That adds all to the fun. But cut them in slices and you should get quite a few slices out of a small potato. When your potatoes are sliced, you can then put them into the bowl. Now it's very important we wash the potatoes after they've been chopped. The reason is potatoes contain something called starch, and the starch will need to be washed off to make sure they become nice and crisp. If you don't wash them off, they can become quite soggy. Now you will need to run them under the tap once or twice. Keep them in the bowl, drain the water out until the water runs clear. You can see there the water is still quite cloudy. So wash them in some more water, move them around to make sure you get every bit of potato washed until the water is nice and clean like that. Then we can drain the water out and it'll be on to the next step. Once your potatoes have been drained, leave them in the bowl and bring them over and pour in about a tablespoon of olive oil. If you don't have olive oil, it's fine, you can use some vegetable oil. You really don't need much oil. This is just to give them a little bit of a coating. And now, the fun part is to give them a bit of a stir around with your hand. It doesn't matter if your hands get dirty, you can wash them again anyway. And make sure you get every potato with a little bit of oil on them. This will help them crisp up nicely and it'll help them cook. After that, you can add your salt and also add your pepper. And then, again, give them another mix. Now the pepper and the salt will stick to your potatoes. And then, once you're happy that it's all mixed together, you can move them on to your baking sheet. Now place them all out nice and evenly. Even if you want to, you can make a Mickey Mouse head. As long as they're all placed out evenly, that's fine. And make sure you get them all onto the paper. They can all now go into the oven. Now we're ready to put them in the oven. So again, get your grown-up to help you with this. There's Mickey going in the oven, and along with the rest of the potatoes. Now you want to put them in the oven, in the centre of the oven, on the middle shelf, and you need to leave them in there until they all go crisp. Now this will depend on the oven. It'll depend how thick you cut your potatoes, and whether it's a fan-assisted oven or a normal oven. It doesn't matter, because you'll know when they're done, because the tops will become all nice and brown and become crispy. So mine took about 20 minutes to cook. Once they're cooked, they'll look like this. As you can see, they're nice and brown. The skin on the outside is nice and crispy. And now they're ready to plate up and eat. Once you've asked your grown-up to help you get them off the oven tray, you can put them on a plate and you can add your favourite sauce to go with it. So for me, I'm going to add some mayonnaise. But you can add whatever you like. You can add tomato ketchup, you can add barbecue sauce, you can add whatever sauce you have in your fridge. And they're delicious to eat, nice and warm, out of the oven. Thanks for watching.
Watching, comment and like.